Hi, and welcome to GenFriends. I'm your host, Cheri Hudson-Passy from Carolina Girl Genealogy, and with me tonight is Toni Carrier. Now, you may know Toni from the oh my gosh, what's your website? See, I told you, my brain
Low
just went.
Country Africana.
Oh, I know, and I use it all the time. I love this website. But Toni is also working on a new project. It's the International African American Museum, and she is the director of the Center of Family History. And so she has come to talk to us tonight all about the museum, what their focus is, what their goals are, and what she's doing as this wonderful project is taking shape. So welcome. We're so happy that you're here, Toni.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
Well, tell us about this project.
Sure. I'll tell you first about the museum itself. The International African American Museum is under development in Charleston right now, in downtown Charleston, and we are scheduled to break ground later this year, and then we'll open in late 2020 or early 2021.
That's so cool. Toni, will you tell me where the actual address is? Because I was in Charleston recently, and I was thinking to myself, I wish I knew where the actual address was as I'm driving around town.
Yeah. Sure, it's an empty lot right now, though, but here's how you can find it. It's right next door to the Charleston Maritime Center.
Okay.
So if you find the Maritime Center on a Google map, and there's if you're facing the coast, if you're facing the water, then it's right to the left of the Maritime Center, and it's a long and narrow lot, but we have a beautiful design. So it's going to fit the lot really well. But the most important thing about the museum, or the most significant thing about the museum, is its location. It's being developed on Gadsden's Wharf, which is where so many thousands of enslaved Africans who were brought into Charleston took their first steps on North American soil. And so the site, can really become a pilgrimage for descendants who have ancestors from South Carolina, because Charleston is so foundational when it comes to African American genealogy. You look at the Atlantic slave trade. During the years of the Atlantic slave trade, almost half of the slaves that were brought in, enslaved Africans who were brought in to North America, were actually brought to Charleston. And then in the very final years of the Atlantic slave trade, every slave ship that landed in Charleston landed at Gadsden's Wharf. So it's a very foundational. You can't discuss African American genealogy without talking about Charleston's role in the Atlantic slave trade. Absolutely. And then after the Atlantic slave trade closed, the domestic slave trade started up and caught fire. And during the years, particularly in the 1830s and the 1850s, again, South Carolina was an exporting state in the domestic slave trade. And you put that with planter migrations to the new areas opening up, it was sort of the new South, the West of the Old South. And so many people who were born in the Carolinas or born in Africa and brought to the Carolinas ended up all throughout the slaveholding South. And so there are thousands and thousands of African Americans today who can trace an ancestor who came either from or through South Carolina.
What a poignant place to have this museum.
It is.
I mean, it's going to mean so much to so many people. And I see Angela has joined us. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, Angela.
Hi, we're so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good to be here.
Yeah. Well, Toni's just explaining a little bit about, and look, here comes Shelley. Looks like Shelley's here too.
Hi,
Shelley.
I'm so glad I saw the post. Just get ready to jump into the 1800s in Ireland. So.
Oh gosh. Well, Toni was just explaining to us a little bit about where the museum is being built and why it's being built, where it's being built. And I just think it's fabulous. And I cannot wait for it to be open. I cannot wait to drive my little 2 hours down to Charleston and and get a good look. So the museum hasn't started being built yet.
Right. We break ground later this year. We are so close to meeting our fundraising goal. We're within $1 million of meeting our fundraising goal.
Oh my
Be able to
goodness.
break ground. Yes.
Oh my goodness.
So
That's
we're
getting
very
close.
excited
Yeah.
about that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so will the groundbreaking be open to the public, or?
I believe so. I believe
Yeah.
there will be a groundbreaking ceremony.
Oh.
So we can all watch for that. We don't have any word on it yet, of course. So we don't know exactly the date yet that we'll be.
Okay. Oh, I'd love to be down there for that. Now, tell us what you're doing as far as getting the word out and the blog and the website and all that kind of thing.
Sure. Well, Robin Foster, the wonderful Robin Foster, the amazing Robin Foster, the force of nature, Robin Foster.
Absolutely.
Robin Foster and I are working to establish the Center for Family History at the International African American Museum. And I can't think of a better place to have a Center for Family History than right here in the city that's so foundational to African American genealogy when you talk about ancestry. So we are working to establish the center, but even though the museum doesn't open until late 2020 or early 2021, we are already up and rolling. We don't have a physical research center yet, but the virtual part of our center is up and rolling. And in fact, we turned 1 year old on July 18. So,
happy birthday.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. So we just.
That was quick.
It was, wasn't it? It just flew by.
Amazing.
It did. But so we do have a website that's up already with plenty of resources. And I would like especially to call attention to Robin Foster's tutorials on her blog.
Yes.
They're wonderful.
Yes, they are. And she takes you from the very first step of starting your genealogy research all the way through advanced genealogy, solving difficult research problems, etc. Well, today we just posted her 66th blog.
Wow.
That's just amazing. That is incredible work she's doing. Incredible work.
It is. So you can find her on our blog, and our website is cfh.iaamuseum.org. And
we will have the link when we post this GenFriends. We will have the link.
Awesome. So, and then to find Robin's blog, you just go over in the top toolbar to blog, and there you are, 66 tutorials waiting for you anytime.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And you're constantly adding records as well. Constantly adding records. And I've been able to use some of these records. I've been so happy with the records.
That's wonderful. That's great. Yeah, last week we launched Alana's archive. Alana Thevenet is our wonderful dear friend and volunteer she's the co-director of Low Country Africana, and she's been working as a volunteer for 15 years now. Wow. And what she loves to do is transcribe Freedmen's Bureau records and other historical records.
Amazing.
Oh, wonderful.
So she has transcribed every labor contract for South Carolina for the Freedmen's Bureau.
Gosh.
Yes.
I'm going to have to go back and take a look because I use those records, but I mean, if they're already transcribed,
save yourself some time.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that is amazing.
The wonderful thing is that, okay, sure.
International.
Mm-hmm.
Can you share with us what parts of that is there?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think of United States, but it says international. So are there collections that will be from other countries and things like that? Or
absolutely.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Well, there are so many international connections in the diaspora to Charleston. Mm-hmm. I mean, when you think about, first of all, the Atlantic slave trade, you've got the whole Senegambia region. You've got, the Gold Coast and Ivory Coast. You've got Angola. And so those countries are very much connected to Charleston. And then there are some people who actually migrated back to Africa with the American Colonization Society and went to Liberia.
Yes.
So Liberia is connected to Charleston. There were people who came, there were planters who came from Barbados.
Barbados,
and
I have.
brought
Yes.
enslaved communities with them. So Barbados is connected to Charleston.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Some of the early planters, such as the Pinckneys and the Lucases, came from Antigua.
Yes.
And so the Caribbean, you know, all throughout the Caribbean is, then you talk about the Black Loyalists who went to Nova Scotia or who went down to then Florida for the Second English period. And then you talk about the people who escaped and went south in the Underground Railroad to escape to Florida, ended up being associated with or even intermarrying with the Seminoles. And so you have Black Seminoles.
That's right.
Who, when the area was becoming a United States territory, and there was a lot of pressure on the runaway enslaved populations down there who were in league with the Seminoles, some of them escaped and went to Andros and Red Bays in the Bahamas. So the Bahamas are connected to Charleston.
I love it.
You could go on and on. You know, the Black Seminoles who migrated west to Indian Territory with the Seminoles.
That's right.
So, you know, these diasporic arms, you know, go out, and then you have, you know, just all of the migrations, planter migrations, and the domestic slave trade, who scattered a lot of people again. So it's just definitely international.
Yeah. Exactly. And what an education that this museum will be giving people, you know, because I think sometimes, you know, we think about what we learned, you know, in history in class. And there's just limited. So limited. And so as we are researching, you know, we learn these things. And I think that I think this museum is going to be so helpful for so many people and really educate us into so many more aspects than we even thought were possible. And a resource to go and help people find their families is just, that just excites me and just gives me chills that there's going to be this dedicated place to help people find their ancestors. I love it.
And a center that's absolutely dedicated 100% to African American genealogy and history. Of course, like, as you know, because you say you have already found some records on our website, you know, there's plenty of records for people. And of course, Robin's tutorials, they relate to any genealogical search. But we, as far as our research focus, we are entirely African American genealogy.
Well, exactly. And I know that Angela has said this so many times. It's the same. Your research is the same.
Yeah. The same process.
The same process. You just need to learn about different record groups and a little bit different methodology as you need to go start researching the slave owners and that type of thing. But you know, people get so caught up in, oh, you can't research. You know, you get to the slavery time period and that's it. You're stuck and you can't ever.
It's so wrong.
Well, and it's interesting because people still believe that that you can't get into the 1860s, and researchers still believe that.
That is true.
You know, it's not just, you know, not just family people or the family historians. I'm saying there is a lot of genealogists, or they don't know that they can actually get back that will pertain to the area where they're at. And it's such a loss if they don't open their eyes a little further, because, you know, a lot of times where we find our African American roots, we're also finding our European roots as well. So you have to learn to research all and tap into all that's available. So I'm really excited. I'm going to have to come down and visit Charleston.
Can't wait. We got to get you down here. I've been trying to get Angela down here for, gosh, Angela, 5 or 6 years now.
Easily. And I'm still trying to get down there.
Genealogy research time, you know, so it's exciting.
Well, Toni, tell me, with the research center, are you going to be collecting original records, or is everything just going to be digitized and online? Are you going to be so people will be able to send their original records to you?
Yes, although I have to say that we have a very small space in the museum, so we only have for this for the center proper, we only have about 1,100, 1,200 square feet.
Mhm.
So we will be doing a lot of digitization. For instance, we would love to receive genealogies that have already been done for African American families anywhere in the United States or the Caribbean or anywhere that anyone would like to donate them. And what we will do most likely is digitize those records and then return the originals to the donors. However, if a contributor comes to us and says, no, I want to donate the actual paper materials, what we can do is we can scan those records, digitize them in-house, and then we can help the contributor find one of the local archives, of which there are many in this area of the Southeast that collect materials.
Yes.
So
That's awesome.
Isn't that wonderful? What a resource. I
Yeah.
mean, I just get so excited thinking about what a great resource this is going to be for everybody, Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And we're so excited right now about a project that Angela has been working on with me. Angela, tell them what I'm talking about.
Well, Toni is talking about the effort to collect pension records of the United States colored troops. And particularly starting obviously with the units, and of course there are over 174 units from infantry, cavalry, heavy and light artillery of the U.S. colored troops, but the project is going to begin focusing on those units that came out of South Carolina. It was the 1st South Carolina African Regiment, which became the 33rd,
Right.
and which is one of my favorite regiments, actually. Very rich history, 33rd and 34th. And the effort is to collect the pensions, where we all know that's where the genealogical data is. And we are going to start a collectathon to collect these.
That's
records.
awesome.
And people can send and digitize. If they've already digitized a file, that's certainly going to be accepted. But if a person has a file, they can send in, it'll be copied, digitized, and then returned to the donor. But the goal is to collect as many as possible.
Yes.
And this is so exciting.
It is exciting.
Is it only collecting South Carolina, or will it go beyond?
Any and every USCT pension file we want to collect.
Uh-oh.
Amazing.
Uh-oh.
Amazing.
Oh,
I actually had shared with Angela the other day that a book that was written called Standing in Your Light, which connects to the American Revolution, and it was written based off of the Black Patriots' pensions. The whole book, she just studied the pension records and developed a book. So if you get a chance to look at it, it's awesome.
Oh, that's got to be
Van Buskirk, and she was out of New York. And but those pension records tell
they're wonderful
story. That is so interesting. So to collect the USCTs, that's magnificent. I think that's an opportunity not to be missed, just for the information that's in there, just collecting another person's name, a witness's name, or something that they experienced.
Yes.
So I'm excited. That's better than a whole museum. I'm saying I love the pension records because they're such a dynamic resource, and I do it on Revolutionary War more than Civil War. But that's the evidence that tells the story right there.
My goodness.
Right there.
So much. So Angela and I have been plotting and planning our collectathon for quite some time.
Oh, it's over a year.
Yes.
So we're ready to make some noise about it now.
Wow.
Great. So are you ready? Are you ready to announce that you're going to get started, or?
Yes.
Are you? Are you?
Yes,
breaking news on GenFriends?
Oh, yes.
You heard it here first.
Fabulous. Fabulous. So tell us.
Well, and the thing of it is, those listening, they got the pension records. Either the researchers for their individual family or the ones that take clients.
That's
if they're going through that era, they've got a pension record.
Got them. So where do we send them?
Okay, I
Give us
will.
the info. Give us all the
Okay,
details.
you go get the mailing address right
All right.
here.
And then we'll make sure that that gets
Yes.
added as
Okay.
well.
All right. The mailing address is the International African American Museum, or simply IAAM. And then it is Post Office Box 22761, Charleston, South Carolina 29413. So IAAM, Post Office Box 22761, Charleston, South Carolina 29413. And if you have an electronic file, a digitized file to contribute, you can go to our USCT Pension Files online collection and scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there's a contribute form right there.
Oh, that's so wonderful. You heard it here, folks. Get that in. I'm so excited.
Sally.
Yet another another resource, another record collection that can help. And I can't help but believe that the ancestors are so excited about this, and they are helping. They want their names. They want their names found. They want to be remembered. They are behind this, and they are rooting everybody on.
They push us along. And you know what is the amazing thing? What these files are doing in South Carolina? We have so many burned counties. Because of the Union occupation during the Civil War. Some of the records were burned then. However, a lot of records were just burned after the Civil War and courthouse fires before we started making our courthouses out of stone. And so we have so many burned counties in South Carolina. And just for instance, this one county that we're working in right now, Colleton County. Well, Colleton County was ground zero for the Cumbie raid, which is where the Union soldiers, the 2nd South Carolina under Colonel Montgomery, did a daring raid up the Cumbie River at like 3 a.m. in the morning on June 3rd of 1863. And they liberated 700 enslaved people. And of those, they took the men to Pigeon Point, and the majority of them enlisted in the USCT. Well, Colleton is a burned county, and their records don't start until like the 1870s and beyond. So the only antebellum records that we have for Colleton are church records,
right?
Or court records, things of that nature that were done in Charleston. The 34th USCT was almost entirely comprised of people who were liberated in the Cumbie raid from the Colleton County plantation. And so we're able to rebuild the actual community and family histories of Colleton County. And I'm talking about hundreds of men and how the families are interrelated. In South Carolina alone, more than 5,000 men served in the USCT, just in South Carolina.
That's huge.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to talk about South Carolina African American genealogy without talking about the United States colored troops.
Right.
It's incredible. And one pension file can literally lead you to an entire community. If you follow the witnesses, the witnesses are not just family members. We're talking about people who had their comrades come and testify on their behalf. And they'll tell you, oh, yes, I was in the 33rd. I was in the 34th. And yes, we fought together at the Battle of Cocotaligo. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And
I love it.
To construct an entire community. It's wonderful.
It's amazing. It's amazing. There was one USCT pension file that we ordered for a member of our Genealogy of the United States Colored Troops Facebook research group, and we delivered it to her. And she was at the point, her ancestors were from Orangeburg. And that's a little isolated place, and there really aren't that many records for Orangeburg, not as many as there are, say, for Charleston and Beaufort. Right. etc. She was to the point where she was about to give up on her family research. She had just, gone as far as she felt like she could go. That pension file opened up a world of new possibilities for her.
My goodness.
Not only that, but all these records she'd been gathering like over the last 30 years, it tied them all together and made them make sense.
Wow.
Love it. Love it.
So awesome. And then another story from this week, a man named James Perkins, who was from Jacksonboro, which is right down below in Colleton County, right down below Charleston. Yes, Walter-Borough. Yes, exactly. And he was originally from North Carolina. Well, he joined the USCT and he served. He was taken prisoner at the Battle of Olustee, Florida.
Oh, wow.
And then he was taken to Andersonville prison.
Oh.
And then he was exchanged in a prisoner exchange in Annapolis, Maryland.
Wow.
And then he was furloughed to New Bern, North Carolina. And then he finally settled in Jacksonboro, and that's where he stayed.
Oh my goodness.
Well, what an incredible story.
Just to be able to, I mean, his family could
I'm
him through
thinking
all
of
these places.
Andersonville.
And he survived Andersonville, which is
That is
miraculous.
amazing. Yeah.
Not
that's absolutely
many people
amazing.
did. Mhm.
You know, that brings me to Bob O'Connor, Toni. Just
Mhm.
because of the Andersonville,
Yeah.
he has done a collection over the last several years of the African American prisoners of Andersonville and collecting names. I think he's up to 200 or 300 now. It might be more.
Wow.
My
So
goodness.
that's a resource that folks can tap into, you know, if they know someone was there. And he's been doing a little bit of genealogy on each of these families, you know, each of the soldiers as he finds them. And now it's probably been about 4 or 5 years now.
Right. His work is amazing. And I heard him on Bernice.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Bernice Bennett's show. And he has a book now, doesn't he, Shelley?
Yeah, he has.
He does.
Actually, he has the second version of that book because he got additional names. So he's even revised that last one that he put out.
That's
But it was so interesting. He's from Jefferson County, West Virginia, and up in the Harpers Ferry area. And so the research has been really a mission now for him to get that done. So it's been amazing.
Oh, that's
really
awesome.
amazing.
That is, and you know, it's also another form of education as well, because there are a lot of people that don't realize that there were colored troops. The colored troops were were taken prisoner and taken there, and so you don't learn about that in your history classes in school.
No,
and so that's an amazing amount of work as well.
Yes.
So Toni, what can we do? What can we do to help?
Yeah.
First of all,
museum and
yes. First of all, please consider becoming a charter member of the museum. Our charter memberships start at $25, and all of that money goes directly into our building fund. So you can actually help push us over that last $1 million goal. But what we would love for you to do on the Center for Family History website is enjoy Robin's tutorials.
Yes.
All 66 of them, with a new one coming every week. And then as well, we encourage you to contribute to our Ancestor Archive. And that is where you can share ancestor photos. And some of the photos that have been shared are so beautiful. I love to just go to the page and look at the photos. They are. Angela loves them too.
Yeah, I love them. They touch me. I just look at some of them and just
they're so beautiful. Well, anybody can contribute a file to the Ancestor Archive. So if you can go on our Ancestor Archive page and just scroll down to the bottom of the page, and there's a submit form right there where you can contribute an ancestor photo. And you can tell a story about that ancestor. So when you upload the photo, when you go onto the form, it will ask you who's pictured in this photo and when and where, if was a photograph taken. And then there's a space that says, please type as little or as much as you like in this space to tell us a little bit about this ancestor. And some people type a little and some people type a lot. And so it's not only, just beautiful photos, but there's family history there being shared as well. So we invite everybody to send an ancestor shout out to us by our Ancestor Archive.
And I'm sure that there's people that have photos that they're not sure who the people
Who they are.
And so that would be a good place to put them to see if they can
Absolutely.
connect with family who know who they are. Or they may think this, I was told that this is this person, but I really
Right.
don't know. We don't know the provenance of this photo.
That's
Can
right.
anybody help to prove? Do you know?
Mhm.
Do you know where it came from? Do you have the original hanging in your house?
That's
Right.
right.
Something like that.
Mhm.
That's a wonderful place to put those types of photos.
Sure.
Wow.
And even the unknown photos, you
Yes.
think about it, you might not have a name,
Mhm.
Mhm.
but there is a name just
Yes.
looking at the photo. That,
Yes.
Right.
even though it's not a verbal name, but there's a person, there's a human, there's, and they attach to all of us. They
That's
really do.
right. They do.
Yeah.
They do. I
Yeah.
believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that. And
Would
then
they?
one more
Mhm.
thing that we could do, that folks can do, is share Bible records on our Bible
yeah.
records page. And the lovely thing about our Bible records collecting program is we have something to give back. If you will photograph or scan the first few pages of your family Bible that have the marriages, births, etc., deaths, we will send you an archival grade acid-free Bible storage box with archival grade acid-free tissue paper to pad and a booklet about how to preserve your family treasures, not only just your family Bible. But so if you would like to archive your records either in the center or on the website or both, we will be happy to send you an archival grade Bible storage box to help you preserve the family Bible for generations to come.
What
That's
a generous offer. That is amazing. That is so wonderful.
We're really happy to.
All the way around,
Yeah.
you're giving back to the community all the way around. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that's just fabulous. Well, ladies, before we go, does anybody else have any more questions or anything to ask Toni? Got anything
I think I'm going to
else?
visit the website again.
I think I can
It's been a bit,
I think I
And
what
I'm
about
on my way to the
you?
archives this week, so I'll have some stuff for you.
Oh boy.
Good. Fabulous. Fabulous. That is amazing. And I do encourage everybody to go and check out that website and see everything that's available. And if you feel like you can contribute, please contribute, because this is a very worthwhile project that is so needed and will benefit so many people from all walks of life. So I can't wait for the groundbreaking. I can't wait for it to be open. Maybe we can have a big GenFriends.
Yes.
A meetup. We'll have a meetup.
Have a meetup and maybe do a Facebook Live or something.
I love it.
We'll have to.
and record a GenFriends hangout or do something. We'll have to
I
do
love
something.
it.
And
Love
that'd
it.
be great.
it's just an amazing project that's underway. And I appreciate you, Toni, coming to talk to us. And Shelley and Angela, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate your insights as well. And with that, I would like to say thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of GenFriends, and we will see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye. Thanks.